Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, and this is Thursday, which means only one thing. Thursday Tier Talk is back with a vengeance. We have a packed show for you tonight. I'm flying solo tonight, so please jump into the comments there or the chat and keep me entertained as much as you can. Obviously, a tough day for football fans and especially Brazilian fans with hearing the passing of this man. Pele, very sad day, an absolute icon of the sport, the greatest, and in a pool of players that are legends, without a shadow of a doubt, has passed away at the age of 82. Absolutely heartbreaking. So we are going to talk about this man later on in the show when we get through the usual stuff that we do. We'll bring you some of his quotes and talk about his career and the impact that he had on football and all that kind of thing. And it was heartbreaking the other day. I seen a video online there, and he was lying in the bed, kind of ebbing away, and someone had a video up to him. It was like a video call or a phone call or something like that, and he was saying goodbye to his family, and it was very very sad. So it kind of we knew this was coming, and we hoped and we prayed that there might be a turnaround, but unfortunately the man's time had come. And he's reunited up in heaven. Heaven FC has won the transfer window, this transfer window, by acquiring Pele. He now joins Maradona up front for Heaven FC. And we'll talk about that tweet he sent when Maradona passed away and all and stuff like that. But we'll talk about him later in the show. We truly have lost an icon of the game. But it's interesting in his Wikipedia. He's described as a man who was a footballer and a humanitarian. And that's a fitting description in his Wikipedia because he's a man who had a smile for everyone and always smiled and was always seen smiling. And anytime he made public appearances or anytime he was out in public, whether he was well or he was suffering or his health was suffering, he had the greatest smile, and you'll see it there. He had an unbelievable smile that lit up a room, and a smile that he had for everyone. So we'll talk about him later. And of course, I mean, the impact he had on the game was, second to none when you think about it. And our thoughts and prayers go to his family and extended family, and of course, all the football family around the world who have lost this great man who gave us some great memories. He was an absolute treasure. Um, we'll talk about him later. Ian's in the comments. What's the crack, Niall? Sad news about the legendary Pele. Absolutely, absolutely sad. Warren, how are you, my man? Warren in the comments as well. God bless the big man. The world has lost a true gentleman and a real legend. Absolutely, and that's the way to describe him, Warren, isn't it? Really, before you even talk about the football, and you can listen to it. I have some of his quotes there for later and stuff like that. And it was sad news, and I was getting ready. I was getting ready, getting prepared for the show, and getting my stuff together as I normally do. And then the news came out of this, so this kind of threw the show a little bit sideways. But we will definitely focus on the man for a reasonable portion of the show. Um, he was unbelievable, and I'm sure I put up a tweet earlier saying we don't lament our heroes, we celebrate them, and that's the way to talk about this man. And I'm sure Brazil is going to throw one hell of a celebration for this man. And likewise, most of the teams around the world, I'm sure, will as well, as they recognise the passing of a true legend. So we'll talk about him in a bit. So what we have for you tonight is we have our Premier League preview as we always do. We're going to talk a little bit about transfers. Of course, being a Liverpool fan, I'm very happy at the moment that Cody Gapco has come through his medical, which is always a worrying time for us Liverpool fans. Sure, most of us would remember Naby Fekir was basically holding the jersey, and the next thing there was a knee issue and something to do with a fee with his brother, let's say. So you're never quite sure till the man is there with the kid on him. Welcome to Liverpool, the usual. So really look forward to it. So yeah, we'll talk some transfers and stuff like that, and then of course we'll go on to beat the bookie. I've selected three bets this week. Didn't go mad into them and stuff like that. I know money is tight for people. Always gamble responsibly, gamble aware, all that kind of stuff. And especially after Christmas, when you've spent quite a bit of money and you're trying to get it back, do not chase it by gambling. Enjoy your gambling as part of fun. So we'll have a few bets for you, and then of course we'll talk about the great man. Right, let's get into the Premier League preview. So we start. So Friday night, tomorrow night, we start with West Ham versus Brentford. Brentford were in pole position the other day against Spurs, and we've seen it with Brentford a couple of times this season, where they've been in pole position and they've thrown opportunity away. Let's say. Morris in the comments as well. How are you, Morris? R.I.P. Pele. Nobody has ever came close except Ronaldo, Mount and Messi. Mount, yeah. Morris, good man. You brightened me up there. I was down. I was very down a little bit about this, because he is truly a legend and stuff like that. And before I won't talk about him now. We'll talk about him later. Acers is in the comments here. Absolute greatest player to ever grace football. Pele, truly number one. R.I.P. Absolutely. I mean, we talk about the festival of football we just had in Qatar, and we talk about the Messi and Ronaldo and Mbappe and all these great players and stuff like that. But this guy truly was incredible when you look at his record. It's sensational, and not only his record. I mean, you can look at records, and Darren often says it as well, that records can tell some truths and some lies. But this guy, some of those moments and some of those goals were just way before his time and stuff like that. And I truly describe those Brazilian teams back in the day. And I'm even a guy of my vintage is too young to remember so much good stuff from him. A lot of his stuff I would have only been about 4 or 5 and stuff like that. No, but my dad spoke fondly of Pele and stuff like that. But he said that Brazilian team, they were kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of football, weren't they? Really, because they had all the basic stuff that you want, the hard work and the practice and the training, but they just had that gloss on them, didn't it? That made them absolutely sensational. And when you just seen them in full flight in that yellow jersey with those blue shorts, it was something to behold, really, and it's just I don't think, unless you're of a certain age, you'll never really understand it. But he was just sensational, and look, he played with sensational players as well. You know what I mean? Because it's never just down to one man, but he was unbelievable. So yeah, great commentators. So let's start then. West Ham versus Brentford. As I said, Brentford have thrown a little bit away recently and stuff like that. In 10th at the moment, as far as I know. But again, 7 points off the drop zone, so it's quite tight in the table and stuff like that. A couple of wins really moves you up or down, depending on what way those results go. But safe to say, they were in control the other day against Spurs, and they opened the door and let Spurs back in. West Ham, we know the trouble West Ham are in. Uh, Morris, where's Gapco's biggest fan, Darren, tonight? Darren is attending the Panto with his family. I rang him earlier to see if he was okay, and he took me on video call. And I don't know, it looked like it was Aladdin or something like that, or Sinbad, or so. I don't know what it was. We said he was at the Panto. He'd give me a ring later, so he's busy at the Panto at the moment. Ian in the comments. How's it going, Warren? I've subscribed to your YouTube channel. Good man, Ian. I love that, Warren. I appreciate that. Yeah, so West Ham anyway. West Ham in a bit of trouble, on a bit of a slide there. Losing 3-1 to Arsenal the other day after taking the lead. Arsenal came back in and looked really, really positive. But a little bit of rumblings at the moment about David Moyes there, I say. Maybe he's running out of a little bit of credit there, let's say. Has quite a very good team there, but just don't seem to be performing. Um, how I think this one will go, you're probably looking at a draw. Dave in the comments, check out Dave's LFC chats. Absolutely dropping content every day. If you're a Liverpool fan, you have to be on this man's channel. His watch alongs are sensational. And his updates off Liverpool are fantastic as well. Pele is now in heaven, passing the ball to Maradona. What a goal, RIP. Do you reckon he passed the ball, Dave? I don't know. I think Pele would have been a greedier forward than that. I don't know whether he passed the ball. He might take a pass off Maradona. I'm not too sure he'd be passing the ball too much. He'd be banging it in the back of the net. But of course, two sensational players, and unbelievable. Yeah, very, very sad news today coming to the football world. Anyway, let's move on. So yeah, West Ham Brentford, I reckon a draw. Liverpool versus Leicester, huge game again for Liverpool. Dare I say, the next 5 to 6 games are going to feel like cup finals as we try and claw our way back into the top 4. Leicester starting to look a little bit the way they did previously. Rodgers under a little bit of pressure. Obviously, James Maddison was missing the other night. Comprehensively were beaten by Newcastle 3-0. Newcastle on a tear at the moment under Eddie Howe, actually jumped up into second off that win. Man City overtook them again with the win against Leeds. Yeah, but I think Liverpool should have enough for Leicester here, and of course they'll be pumped up with the signing of Cody Gakpo. It's going to be sensational. Dave reckons 3-1 the Reds. Yeah, I'm thinking in around that as well, Dave. 3-1. But I think we should have enough to dispense of Leicester at Anfield. But again, you just never know what Liverpool we're going to get. But I think they're kind of on a bit of a tear at the moment to get back into that top four. And obviously the signing will boost the squad and stuff like that. Talk that he might be in for Monday for the Brentford game. I know the gaffer today said he didn't think he'd make the Brentford game. I think that might be mind games. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. Then moving to Saturday, Bournemouth versus Crystal Palace. Two teams struggling a little bit. Palace got quite the hiding off Fulham the other day, 3-0. And of course, Bournemouth, as you know, where was Bournemouth? Bournemouth were earlier, weren't they? They played Chelsea 2-0. The scoreline didn't really reflect the game. Chelsea had a number of chances. Could have been a much bigger scoreline. I know Bournemouth came into its second half a little bit with a couple of opportunities, but just couldn't finish their dinner. But these are two teams at the moment that really could do with a win. Tough place to go for Crystal Palace as well, but I think Crystal Palace probably just edged this one. Brighton versus Arsenal. This is a mouth-watering tie now for us for Saturday. Brighton in great form. Arsenal, of course, top of the table. Both teams playing really, really well and on a tear at the moment. You also have a lot of Brighton players there at the moment, knowing what the transfer window coming up, their services are sought after by bigger clubs, dare I say. Not excluding ourselves, Dave, of course, Concedo and stuff like that. We're very interested in, of course. Morris, Brighton to provide the shock of the weekend with a 1-0 win. Morris, you're a gooner. You're a gooner. That is a terrible thing to say. No faith there at all. Acer's back in the comments. Wolves versus United at noon. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one as well. But I think that Brighton Arsenal game could be an absolute belter. Both in great form. Do you know, I think Arsenal might just edge this one. I think Arsenal just have a bit of metal about them at the moment. Brighton obviously a tough place to go, the Amex and stuff like that. But I think Arsenal might just edge this in a very close contest, maybe 2-1. So I'm thinking on that. Fulham versus Southampton. Fulham on a tear at the moment. Marco Silva doing a fantastic job of Fulham, getting the absolute most out of that team that he can. Southampton is still in serious trouble. Got beaten by Brighton the other day, 3-1. It doesn't look like things have improved greatly since the governor left. Being linked with a number of players at the moment. Certainly they could do with a couple of forwards. Need to start putting some goals on the board if they want to get out of the trouble that they're in. So I think probably go for Fulham on that one. Man City versus Everton. Can't see anything here, only a Man City win. I could be shocked, but I doubt it. I think Everton are in serious trouble. Acers in the comments. Wolves will beat United 3-1. You think? That's a big shout. That's a big shout. I like the sound of it now, but it's a big shout. United playing well at the moment. You know what I mean? They're doing the business. I know they didn't. When I say playing well, I don't mean like at a performance and stuff like that, but they're getting results. Interesting. Fulham to hammer the leaky Saints. Yeah, I think so as well, Morris. I think Fulham are excellent this season. Acer's back in the comments as well. Oh, sorry, I missed one by Acer's there. City easy banker. Yeah, I think so. I think Everton are in serious trouble. And he also said Newcastle an easy banker. Newcastle versus Leeds. I think they'll win all right, Acers. I wouldn't say easy. I think Leeds always will give you a decent game and stuff like that. And even if you look at the game the other night against Man City, you know, they still put it up to them and give them a bit of a game, even though they get beaten. But I think ours, yeah, I was saying there, Warren's in there talking about assessment of Brighton versus Arsenal, spot on, mate. Yeah, I think Arsenal are just operating at the moment at a different level now. They're looking a different direction and stuff like that. They're also going to be buyout. I believe you're bringing in a couple of players as well, Warren as well, which is interesting, and decent players as well. So I think it's good for Arsenal at the moment. You'll be buoyed by that as well, and then the window opening as well. It'll be all guns blazing, as they say. Yeah, fire those cannons. Warren's in City 5-0 win. Um, yeah, this could get very difficult for Everton. All right, Newcastle versus Leeds. I don't expect it to be easy, but I expect Newcastle to win, and I think it'll be 3-1. But I think the game will still be tight. If you know what I mean by 3-1. Wolves versus Man United. Um, I don't know. I think this could have draw written all over it. I think. I think Man United at the moment they're sort of like they're not firing on all cylinders, but they're figuring out how to get the job done, aren't they? Uh, Acer's back in the comments. Great when Shearer saying on Amazon that if Newcastle win the league, he would present in his boxers. Can you imagine? This is like the didn't Lineker or Lineker did it, didn't he, with the Leicester one, didn't he as well? Yeah. Um, don't know, Alan Shearer in his boxers. That was Geordie's, huh? Yeah, crazy. Imagine. Yeah. I don't know whether that will inspire them enough. I tell you though, look out for Newcastle in the transfer window. They're probably going to do a bit of business and strengthen greatly, and they're in a brilliant position at the moment. And then we move into Sunday, Forest versus Chelsea. I think Forest at home, it's a tough little task, but Chelsea look like they're back to their form again. They played really well the other night for Potter. It looks like the time away that he's had with them during the World Cup and stuff like that really helped them to recharge their batteries and all. They were really stuttering prior to the World Cup, but a lot of players played really well the other night. I was talking to Eno about it last night as well from the Chelsea Roar, and we were talking about how Pulisic was playing well. Havertz looked on it. The only downside, obviously, is losing Reece James again, who's a massive loss. He's fantastic and stuff like that. But I'd probably see Chelsea seeing this out. I don't expect them to revert back to where they were. Um, so I think Chelsea will take Nottingham Forest. But again, I don't think it'll be huge. Similar to the other one, probably 3-1, but still feel like a tight game. And then Tottenham versus Aston Villa. Spurs versus Aston Villa. We got Conte versus Emery. Interesting. Acer's in the thing. Chelsea reckons Chelsea easy. Yeah, maybe. Forest certainly struggling. I was listening to Cooper today, all right. And Ian in the comments, Man United got this. You reckon? Interesting. Acers. Uh, Forest are going to go on a massive losing streak. Yeah, and it's interesting when Cooper was talking today, when you think about all the players that they've signed, um, and he was talking about the transfer window. So that was kind of interesting when you think about it. He hasn't figured out yet how to use the 22 signings or whatever it was that they got in the summer. And he's already talking about the transfer window. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic for me. That sounded like a guy that was clutching at straws. But I think you're spot on there, Acers. I think that could definitely be the case. The thing about Forest there is there is a little bit of talent there. There's players there that are decent. But I just don't know whether Cooper has figured out how to get the best out of him. yeah, yeah, he wants more signings. He wants more signings. This guy thinks he's running an NFL team, not a football team. He thinks he's playing in the American football leagues or something like that, because he just has his players coming out of his ears, and he changes things up so quickly. He doesn't give Ant a chance to settle to figure out whether it's good or bad. But Spurs versus Villa is going to be an interesting one. Villa have been okay in the league. Liverpool dispensed off them fairly good the other night. They did have a couple of chances though against Liverpool and certainly came back into the game. Obviously, Bietic coming on and getting that third goal really sealed it and stuff like that. But at 2-1, it was slightly nervous and they were creating chances. It was a kind of a weird one for Emery as well, the way he brought on Coutinho and Ings so late. I think he only gave him about 6 minutes post injury time. So I think he probably needs to look at that and maybe be a bit more positive in his movements and stuff like that. Give them a bit more time if he wants them to have an impact on the game. But this could be an interesting one. Villa going to Spurs. Gonna go with a draw. Acers, yeah, Acers was what insane. Yeah, Cooper wanting more players. Yeah, absolutely insane. crazy. And obviously Spurs versus Villa will be game of the weekend. Interesting, could very well be. Could be a lot of goals and a serious firepower on both teams there. So that's been your Premier League preview. Of course, you've been letting us know in the chat there your thoughts on the matches and stuff like that, and also we'll wait and see how it pans out. Um, I think Newcastle will beat Arsenal on Tuesday. That's going to be a fantastic game. We'll obviously be previewing that Monday night and stuff like that. We'll go through all those games. But yeah, that's going to be a great game. Morris was on to me today as well. He sent me a thing. He goes, a defining month. Where did I get it up here on WhatsApp? Because it was a brilliant graphic that he sent me. Where was it? And it looks like they've got Brighton, then they've got Newcastle, then they've got Tottenham, and then they've got Man United. That's a serious month for Arsenal. January is going to be Arsenal's defining month. There's no doubt about it. So it's going to be absolutely electric for them. And we will see how they get on. This will test their resolve. Interesting to see. They've also been linked heavily with that loan move for Joe Felix today as well that I've seen. So that could be interesting. And I believe the loan move is available for 8 million. Why are United stalling on this? Why are United stalling on all these deals? It's a very strange one. 8 million for Joe Felix on loan. Imagine that delivers Arsenal a Premier League. Best 8 million they ever spent. Be unbelievable. So let's see if they get guys in early. Let us know in the comments, Arsenal fans. What do you think? Are Arsenal going to move in this market very quick, get guys in real quick, especially with a month like that ahead of you? No point in bringing in players the last week of the month if you've dropped points and stuff like that. Acers reckons 3 points out of all those games. 3 points out of all those games. United said they've no money. Yeah, I called this, Acers. I don't know if you tuned into the show there. About 2 months ago, some financial records came out from United showing that they had sort of liquid quack cash of about 23 million, which I thought was crazy for a club the size of Man United. And I delved down into their accounts and their finances and had a look. And I had mentioned to Darren on a show that I thought that United might be in some financial trouble and stuff like that. And this was at a time where creators at the time were doing shows saying United to spend 150 million and 200 million in the January window and all this kind of thing. And I just looked at it and I said, there's no way they're going to do that. They ain't going to have the money. And then, of course, the big shock, we'll get into the transfer news now in a minute, was the Gapco deal the other day coming into Liverpool out of kind of nowhere, really, and United not signing them and the links there with PSV and Ten Hag's agent and all this kind of stuff. And then I was thinking, God, did I hit the nail on the head when I looked at that time? And then we're hearing today that they may not even have the 8 million for the Joe Felix loan deal, and you're there going, wow, these boys are in serious trouble. Yeah, Goldbridge on the United stand. I always like listening to him. He's so entertaining and stuff like that. He's absolutely losing it, yeah, and rightly so. But then I suppose if you were the owner, like it's like if you were the owner of, say, a shop, and you know that you were selling the shop, or you know the shop was going. You're not going to invest money in it, are you really? You're not going to put in new floors and nice windows and a new door and all that kind of thing. So you can see where they're probably not going to spend money. But then the question is, are you writing off another season in the Champions League and stuff like that, which is very difficult for new owners coming in? They're going to have to spend even more money to try and get them out of that situation, and then let's see what happens in the rest of the season. The likelihood of United making top four if they don't invest in players is very, very slim when you see all the teams around them and what they're going to do. I know Newcastle are going to sign players. I know Arsenal are going to strengthen. Man City, they might bring in a sprinkling. We'll see. They're interested in players, but they've such a great squad. And then, of course, Newcastle, you've got Liverpool buying players, and surely Tottenham are going to land one or two players, I'd imagine, as well. So it's going to be a real interesting. This transfer window, I think, is going to feel like a real cutthroat summer window as well. But I think you're going to get a lot of players on really, really good deals, because I think the market in the summer was heavily inflated. And I think now people are understanding that they can't inflate the market this way. Like you hear Benfica turning around going, they want 120 million release clause for Enzo Fernandez, but they want all the fee up front. And like, no one's going to do that. No one's going to do that. You're basically just telling the player he's not for sale, by that kind of rubbish and stuff like that. And I know Chelsea have had a bid in there. Yeah, United are Thursday Europa Nights Entertainment. Yeah, and that might not even continue with Barcelona coming up. And be interesting to see how that pans out. That could end very quickly as well. Let's see what happens there. But yeah, you hear Chelsea, they've put in that bid for Enzo Fernandez as well, and Benfica are still holding out and stuff like that. And it's like you have to have a reality check as well. So it'll be interesting to see what way it happens. Obviously, let's get into transfer talk then. So I picked out a few stories today that were of interest on Transfer Talk. Of course, Cody Gapco has completed his medical and has moved to Liverpool. As I said earlier, it's always nervous when they're going through the medical. You never know what it might throw up, and until you see him standing there holding the jersey or even wearing it and walking around talking, then you're never sure. Man United and Tottenham have been linked with Rennes striker Martin Terrier. 21 goals last season and 11 goals in 20 games this season as well. Really, really good player. And they're both interested in him as well. But again, we don't know what's happening with Man United. I mean, they're coming out saying they're broke as a joke, and they look like they're only going to be most of the tier ones out there are saying they're just going to be chasing loan deals and stuff like that. I wonder is this their way of dampening down the market's expectation? So when they do go in for a player, let's say like this boy here, that they're not going to be slaughtered the way they were in the summer, like 85 million for Anthony and 50 odd million for Martinez, and I don't know what they paid in the end for Malacia and stuff like that. But they paid big money and stuff like that. The money they paid for Casemiro, who again, I'll put my hand up, he's been sensational for them as well. But they have paid. If they're not going to have the funds to go into the market now in January, you can assume that what they did was they overspent by 40, 50, 60 million in the summer, and it's recognized that that's a fact. I mean, you look at Anthony at 85, they were originally in from, I think, between 45 and 50, so they paid an extra 35. So that 35 would have landed you Cody. So that's the kind of predicament that they're in at the moment. Chelsea are looking to sign Enzo Fernandez. It's 115 million euro, but Benfica want all the payment up front. There's no terms there or stuff like that. Now listen, Chelsea have the wealth to do that. Man City would have the wealth to do that. Newcastle would have the wealth to do that. But it's whether they want to do that or not. That's a massive chunk of money going out in the January window. Um, and I'm just not too sure. Sensational player, had a great World Cup, was the young player of the tournament in Qatar and stuff like that. So there's no doubt in the man's ability and what he is as a player and stuff like that. But that's a massive chunk of money. And if your expectation is that you want all that in a briefcase delivered on the day, I think you're asking a bit much in the current financial situation. But we will see and we will check it and we will monitor it. West Ham and Leicester City are pondering a move for Torino midfielder Sasa Lukic, the Serbian midfielder who did really, really well in the World Cup. He was one of the standouts for Serbia, in fairness to him, but they're pondering a move for him. To be honest with you, if I was West Ham and Leicester City, first of all, West Ham and the predicament they're in with David Moyes, I wouldn't be pondering that, and I'd be doing business pretty quickly. And Moyes has been quite shrewd in the way he's done business. Some of his business has been really, really good. Um, Leicester City, again, similar situation. They know that there's a number of players there. James Maddison wants a move. Tillemans wants a move. There's a number of players there want to move. So Brendan knows that he's going to have to refresh and stuff like that. So again, don't be pondering too much of this stuff. You want to start making moves in this January window. Otherwise, you find yourself down the job centre. Southampton are interested in adding to their attacking options with Lorente Hitman, Terem Moffi. He's Nigerian international. Looked into this guy today, 23 years of age. He's had 10 goals in just 14 League One games so far this season. 10 and 14. Sensational. And also, he scored braces against Clermont, Lens, and Brest. But he scored against PSG in a 2-1 defeat. He was the shining star, really, for Laurent when they played PSG and stuff like that. Sensational players of that. Again, Southampton in the same position as well. Need to strengthen and get people in who'll put the ball in the back of the net. Really, really vital for them that happens, because it's goals that's causing them a problem and stuff, that they need to score goals or they ain't going to stay in the division. Tottenham have made an offer of 13 million to sign Barcelona outcast Frank Kessie, apparently. This was one that myself and Darren spoke about in the summer. We thought he was a real good signing for Barcelona and stuff like that. But then that was at a time where we thought Barcelona weren't going to go on a mad one. And then they went on a mad one and started hoovering up players left, right, and centre. And unfortunately, Kessie, I assume, who came in thinking he was going to be one of a couple of signings, all of a sudden got lost in the mix and stuff like that, and really hasn't featured for Barcelona at all. Real good player with a real good engine, box to box as well. I seen him play for AC Milan against Liverpool in the Champions League in Anfield. Real good player, solid and stuff like that and all. And at 13 million, great bit of business for Tottenham if they could do that. Acer's back in the comments. United are, oh yeah, we had that one already. Sorry about that. United always get raped by clubs and agents. Yeah, they do, and it's one of those things. It's just, I think what it is there's so many options now in the English game and in the Premier League and stuff like that that they just, for one reason or another, have they lost some of their attractiveness, because of the projects and stuff like that. And it tends to be like two steps forward, one step back, and all that kind of thing. And it's whether players can commit to that. There's a little bit of shine gone off Man United. They have been better this season, no doubt about it. The results have been better, and you can see kind of what Ten Hag wants to do and stuff like that. But then you look at a situation here where how many of his first choice players has he landed? And that comes into question. And that's no disrespect to the players he's got in. The players he's got in are very good players. But when you're not landing your first choices, and listen, as a Liverpool fan, I know this more than anyone. We had to settle for third, fourth, and fifth choices for years, and that's what kept us out there in the doldrums and stuff like that. So if you're not getting your number one targets and you're having to settle for second best, or potentially, Aces, you have a board telling you that you're not getting money in this transfer window, that it's really only small loan deals you can do. And then there's talk of players going out as well. I was saying talk today that Maguire might be on the move and stuff like that. And then it was an interesting comment. I was looking at one of the creators and they were saying that yeah, Harry Maguire could leave Man United because he is a Premier League defender quality, at least from seventh in the Premier League down. And I'm thinking, that's kind of about where you guys do be. So what are you talking about? So it was kind of weird. It was like contradicting yourself, really. But it was funny. It was funny to hear it. But yeah, Tottenham, that would be sensational. 13 million for Frank Kessie is a great bit of business for any team, let alone Tottenham. Um, Safe to say, maybe Liverpool should look at that because we're talking about strengthening our midfield and stuff like that. So Frank Kessie at 13 million all day, I'd have him. Dave, if you're still in the chat, let us know what you think. Frank Kessie, 13 million, powerhouse. Man United takeover coming very soon as Glazers ready to sell club in seismic moment. This broke today as well, kind of not directly a transfer, but it sounds like the takeover of Man United is really close. And it sounds like the deal is going to be absolutely monstrous. So United fans absolutely rubbing their hands on that. They can't wait for it to happen. Arsenal looking to sign Joe Felix. That would initially be a loan deal with an option to buy. I think they were talking today. The loan deal is about 8 million. Are Arsenal going to swoop in for Joe Felix? And they're also looking at Mudryk as well in January. Hope I pronounce his name right there as well. Decent player as well. But I think they're talking. They were somewhere around 65 million, I think, and stuff that, which I think is massive money for that player. Massive money. But again, decent player, looks really good and stuff like that. But I think they're holding out for more money, and I think the boy, as good as he is, he might be a little bit overpriced. But Joe Felix at 8 million, if you're bringing him in there with Jesus out till March, I think it is sensational. The Arsenal and the Gunners would go absolutely ballistic for Joe Felix. Be sensational and stuff like that. The question is in the chat, does Joe Felix cut it in the Premier League? We know at times he has struggled at Atletico and stuff like that. Has fallen out there, obviously, with Simeone as well. So they want him out the door. I'm not sure whether it's a proper falling out or whether it's a cost thing at the moment in the Spanish league. It's obviously costing Atletico huge money. But we shall see. But that would really propel Arsenal, and imagine the lift that would give Arsenal going into the back end of the season and stuff like that. Would be massive. Tottenham are being linked with to Maguire the fridge. Yeah, be interesting, wouldn't it? That's a weird one, wouldn't it? But I suppose he could do all right in there. Paired up with Romero, who's quite agile and stuff in there. So you'd have a blend of the two. And you're saying at times Maguire, he can sometimes work really well in that kind of blend and stuff like that. But be interesting to see what he's available for. Certainly, it's going to be massively reduced from what he went to United with. Um, Glazers don't intend to spend in January as loan deals a possibility. That's the story and the narrative that's out there at the moment. So the question is, do we believe that this is the case, that there isn't money there to spend, the impending deal is about to take place and stuff like that, the sale? Or are they just dampening down the market so they're not absolutely bent over a barrel on pricing for some of these players? And it's so weird. Like, you look at the Cody deal for Liverpool as well. Like, his release clause was 37 million, and they just go in, yeah, 37 million and 13 and add-ons. Boom, deal done. And I'm not saying now, and I also mentioned, I actually mentioned Agent Van Dijk as well. And anyone who doesn't believe that Van Dijk was instrumental in this deal is fooling themselves when you see the videos that are coming out at the moment. And even Klopp turned around and tried to dampen it down today. He was talking and he was saying, "No, yeah, but look, it was an open door there. He's seen what he was coming to, and like if Virgil spoke to him, maybe Virgil spoke to him. Virgil was in his ear. There's no doubt about it, and he was absolutely pivotal in Cody making that decision for Liverpool. Chelsea obviously chasing Endo Fernandez. We spoke about that already. They have lodged a bid. I think the bid is over 100 million, but Benfica are holding firm on this, as they did. They did with us with Nunes as well and stuff like that. But they have signed in Kunku. That signing is done just to be cemented in the January window. Sensational player. Out injured at the moment with a bad injury, but will come back and be a very strong player for really fits Chelsea and Potter and stuff like that. Great sign. But they're also looking to bring in this Badiashile guy as well. They're linked with him, Benoit Badiashile as well, who's a big boy. Eno tells me this lad is a huge lad. And I said to him last night, if he's a big, brawly defender, he'll suit Chelsea perfect. He was in there at the moment with Koulibaly and stuff like that. And also, yeah. So that's your transfer news. That's what we have for you in transfers. I'm sure there's other transfer talk out there and stuff like that. I just took a high level one. I cut some of them out, of course, because we do want to talk about Pele towards the end of the show and stuff like that. So let's get into Beat the Bookie, and we give you some picks that we did for the weekend coming up for the New Year's. So I started off, I just did 3 bets. I didn't want to do too many and stuff like that, as I said earlier. It's not a time to be blowing money on gambling when you've already spent a fortune on Christmas, no doubt. So I did over 3.5 goals in the Friday matches. So West Ham versus Brentford and Liverpool versus Leicester. 6-1, over 3.5 goals in both games. I think both games absolutely stink of goals. I know I'll probably get that wrong and end up being 2-0 nils or something like that. But I think over 3.5 goals, the double pays 6-1. I think that's good money. That could get you a few bob in on Friday night and set you up then for your Saturday and Sunday bets. Both teams to score. So I did West Ham versus Brentford, Liverpool versus Leicester, Newcastle versus Leeds, Wolves versus Man United, and Spurs versus Villa. Both teams to score. A lot of fixtures in this. It is 14-1. But a lot of firepower around all these teams and stuff like that. So I think it's a reasonable bet. The odds aren't huge because of the number of games, but I think there's plenty of goals between both teams to score. And then I finished up with a Liverpool bet builder. I didn't bother doing an anytime scorer this week, but I did a Liverpool bet builder, and I did Liverpool to win over 2.5 goals, Fabinho to be booked, and a penalty to be scored. I'm thinking Darwin Nunes, the speed of Darwin Nunes, someone's going to take him down, aren't they? So yeah, 28-1 for that bet builder, that Liverpool one, we're having a penalty in there scored. So that's it for Beat the Bookie. 3 nice bets, 6-1 for the over 3.5 goals double on Friday night. Both teams to score listed out the matches there, 14-1, and the bet builder Liverpool to win over 2.5 goals, Fabinho to be booked, and a penalty to be scored, 28-1. That's them there. I'll flash them up there on the screen. If anyone wants to screenshot it, it's there. Also, if you check out our bets there from last week, I think we landed a couple of bets last week. Ted was on to me there. His bet came true as well that he gave us on the show. So Ted was in the money. Ted's been in the money twice this week, as far as I know, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, he's been getting a few bets up there as well. So keep an eye on Ted's ones when he sends them in as well. He's in a rich vein of form at the moment. Right, that's all that stuff out of the way. Let's have a chat about this, man. Let's talk about this, man. Absolutely sensational. We lost him today. A massive loss. Very, very sad. And I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. Um, the first one, we all know him as Pele. Edson Arantes do Nascimento is the man's name, but we all know him as Pele, of course. So I had to put that out there. What a fantastic name. But let's talk about his career. His youth career, 1953 to 56, Baru he played for. Then his senior career, and this is always one that comes up in conversation. If you look at his senior career, he never played in Europe. He often spoke about how he would have loved to, put on the whites of Real Madrid or something like that, and when you think about it, it's an amazing one, really, isn't it? His story that like he never played in Europe, and yet when you think about South American footballers and you think about the quality of the players that come through, their dream is always to play for Barcelona or Real Madrid. How many times as fans of the Premier League have we brought in South American players and then they head off? The draw of Barcelona, the draw of Real Madrid, they just can't resist it. They have to go and stuff like that. With us, it was Suarez, Coutinho, you know what I mean? The list goes on in the Premier League. It must be a massive list when you think about South American players that have played in the Premier League and then probably gone on to Barcelona or Real Madrid or, one of those top Spanish teams, stuff like that is the holy grail for them. But 1956 to 1974, played for Santos, of course, 636 games, 618 goals. 618 goals. 1975 to 1977, went to New York Cosmos. 64 appearances, 37 goals, giving you a total of 700 appearances, 655 goals. Acers back in the comments. Are you in the shop next week? I am indeed. I'm back in on Tuesday because Monday's a bank holiday. I was in America during the week. If World Cup final in 1994, the amount of Pele jerseys was totally mind-boggling. Absolutely, still is to this day. Still is to this day. But New York Cosmos, and that's where I was getting that idea when he went to America. It was like the Harlem Globetrotters, this football and stuff like that. 64 appearances, 37 goals, 700 in total, 655 goals. And then, of course, his career for Brazil. When you see the footage of this man in the yellow and blue, 1957 to 1971, 92 appearances, 77 goals. 77 goals. Absolutely sensational. Where do we even begin when we talk about his career? It was just unbelievable. I'm going to talk about a little bit about his honours. And this could, listen, you're going to have to bear with me. This could take a while because this man, for where he applied his trade, he did it all. Now, so where do we start? Honours. Brazil Serie A, 1961, 62, 63, 64, 65, and 68. Copa Libertadores, 1962, 1963. Intercontinental Cup, 1962 and 63. Intercontinental Super Cup, 1968. Campeonato Paulista, 1958, 60, 61, 62, 64, 65, 67, 68, 69, 73. Rio Sao Paulo, 1959, 63, 64, and 66. That was with Santos. And just when I'm rattling off those years, just think about this sensational. New York Cosmos, North American Soccer League, Soccer Bowl, 1977, and North American Soccer League, Atlantic Conference Championship, 1977 as well. And then with Brazil, take a deep breath for this one. FIFA World Cup 58, 62, and 70. How could we forget? Taca do Atlantico. If my pronunciation of this stuff is wrong, if there's any Brazilians subscribed to the channel, feel free to jump in and correct me. I do struggle with this sometimes. 1960, Roca Cup, 1957-63. The Oswaldo Cruz, Taca Oswaldo Cruz, 58, 62, and 68. and the Copa Bernardo O'Higgins, 1959. So there were his honours both at club and country level. Absolutely sensational. Then if you look at his individual awards, uh, Campeonato Paulista top scorer, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 69, and 73. There's a mouthful. I have to pause there because I'm going to need to get a drink because this is just sensational. Um, FIFA World Cup Best Young Player 1958. FIFA World Cup Silver Ball 1958. Football's Ballon d'Or, the France Football's Ballon d'Or 58, 59, 60, 61, 63, 64, and 1970. South American Championship Best Player 1959. South American Championship Top Scorer 1959. Gold Palaka 1961. Brasilia Serie A top scorer 61, 63, 64. Intercontinental Cup top scorer 62, 63. Torneo Rio Sao Paulo top scorer 1963. Copa Libertadores top scorer 1965. BBC Overseas Sports Personality of the Year 1970. Wasn't even born. Bola de Prada 1970. FIFA World Cup Golden Ball Best Player 1970. South American Footballer of the Year 1973. Included in the North American Soccer League All Stars team 1975, 76, and 77. This All Stars team, that's what I mean, like the Harlem Globetrotters, this was sensational stuff. Um, Top assist provider 1976, and most valuable player 1976 as well. The number 10 jersey was retired by the New York Cosmos as a recognition to his contribution to the club in 1977. Absolutely fitting. Elected Citizen of the World by the United Nations in 1977. We're getting into stuff there where I'm talking now, where you talk about the footballer and the humanitarian and stuff like that. So we'll go through it all. International Peace Award 1978, FIFA Order of Merit 1984, inducted into the American National Soccer Hall of Fame 1992, elected Goodwill Ambassador by UNESCO 1993, winner of the France Football's World Cup Top 100 1930 to 1990 in 1994, won the Marcia Lleida, not sure what that is, 1997. World Team of the 20th Century 1998. Football Player of the Century elected by France Football's Ballon d'Or winners 1999. Time Magazine, one of the 100 most important people of the 20th century 1999. Absolutely. Greatest Player of the 20th Century by World Soccer 1999. Athlete of the Century by Reuters News Agency 1999. Athlete of the Century elected by International Olympic Committee 1999. World Player of the Century by the IFFHS 2000, South American Player of the Century by IFFHS 2000, FIFA Player of the Century 2000, Laureus Lifetime Achievement Award 2000, FIFA Centennial Award 2004, FIFA 100 Greatest Living Footballers 2004, BBC Sports Personality of the Year Lifetime Achievement Award in 2005, elected Best Brazilian Player of the Century by the IFFHS in 2006. Greatest football player to have ever. I'm going to stop on that one actually. Elected the best Brazilian player. Think about Brazilian players. Just pause on that one and think about Brazilian players and all the brilliant players that have elected the best. Imagine being the cream of that crop. Unbelievable. Greatest football player to have ever played the game by Golden Foot 2012. FIFA Ballon d'Or Prix d'Honneur 2013. World Soccer Greatest 11 of All Time 2013. Legends of Football Award 2013. South America's Best Player in History by L'Equipe 2015. Inspiration Award by GQ 2017. Global Citizen Award by the World Economic Forum 2018, FWA Tribute Award 2018, Ballon d'Or Dream Team 2020. Imagine a Ballon d'Or Dream Team 2020. IFFHS All Time Men's Dream Team 2021. IFFHS South American Men's Team of All Time 2021. Order of Rio Branco, 1967. These are kind of outside of football. Commander of the Order of Rio Branco in 1969. Um, I'll just scroll down to some of these. Awarded the FIFA Order as a tribute to his 80 years as a sports institution, 1984. Awarded with the Order of Merit of South America by the CONMEBOL, 1984. He was awarded the National Order of Merit by the government of Brazil in 1991. Awarded with the Cross of the Order of the Republic of Hungary in 1994. A Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire, honorary knighthood in 1997. Olympic Order by the International Olympic Committee in 2016. Absolutely sensational. That's both his playing and his personal awards. And it's such a mouthful to go through, and it's unbelievable. Let's talk about some of his records, and they're absolutely sensational. And then we'll finish up with some of his life quotes, which is a fitting way to end the show. Joint most goals for Brazil national football team in 77, 95 including unofficial friendlies, tied with Neymar. Highest goals per game ratio, 0.84 for Brazil national football team. So literally a goal a game. Highest goals per game ratio of any South American top international scorer. Most goals in the Intercontinental Cup. Most goals for Santos, 643 in 659 competitive games. 643 goals in 659 competitive games. And when we listen to his quotes in a few minutes, you can see why this guy's record is absolutely sensational. Most goals scored in a single Campeonato Paulista season, 58 goals in 38 competitive games in 1958. 58 goals in 38 competitive games. You know, we talk about Haaland, and you know, we talk about Messi, and we talk about Ronaldo and all. 58 goals in 38 games. Sensational. Most goals in a calendar year recognised by FIFA, 127 goals in 1959 he scored for the whole calendar year. 127 goals. These are sensational. Most hat-tricks in world football, 92. Most career goals in world football, including friendlies, 1,283 in 1,363 games. Most FIFA World Cup winners' medals, 3, 1958, 62 and 1970. 3 of them. Youngest winner of a FIFA World Cup, aged 17 years and 249 days. Sensational. Youngest goal scorer in a FIFA World Cup, aged 17 years and 239 days. For Brazil versus Wales in 1958. There's a whole host of youngest awards here and stuff like that. First player to score in 3 successive FIFA World Cups. One of only 5 players to have scored in 4 different FIFA World Cup tournaments. One of only 5 players to have scored in 2 different FIFA and World Cup finals. Scored in 2 FIFA World Cup finals for winning teams, shared with Vava. Most assists provided in FIFA World Cup history. These records just go on and on and on. Only player to reach 25 international goals as a teenager. Only player to score in a FIFA World Cup before turning 18. Only player to score a hat-trick in a FIFA World Cup before turning 18. Only player to have scored a hat-trick in the Intercontinental Cup. That rounds it out, the man. And there's so many records there. I've called out, I think, about 15. There's probably about 50. Probably about 50 to describe the man. Absolutely sensational. Can't say enough about him. Let's round out the show by talking about some of his quotes. Some of these are just, they ring so true. The first ones, I'll go full screen on this, of course. The first one is, well, I could have went full screen, but then that blocks it out. So we'll start by this. Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are, love of what you are doing or learning to do. What a quote by the man. One here by Johan Cruyff I thought was really nice. Pele was the only player who surpassed the boundaries of logic. Interesting. And this one here, a penalty is a cowardly way to score. Imagine telling that's such an interesting one. Imagine telling players that today when you look at the way players get down and try to win penalties and all that kind of stuff. No, a penalty is a cowardly way to score. This one was an interesting one. Pele doesn't die. Pele will never die. Pele is going to go on forever. So true, and that's a quote that certainly rings true today. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely sensational. And then this one up here: wherever you go, there are three icons that everyone knows: Jesus Christ, Pele, and Coca Cola. It's fantastic, some of this stuff that he put out there, and I thought it's fitting that we put these quotes out here, because these are the ones that should make you smile. I keep on saying, don't lament your heroes, celebrate them, and these quotes are fantastic. Um, let's get into these other last two that are there. The World Cup. This is a real good one, and this rings true for the World Cup we've just witnessed. The World Cup is a very important way to measure the good players and the great ones. It is a test of a great player. And certainly that rings true when we talk about Ronaldo and Mbappe and Messi and all these players that lit up the World Cup and stuff like that. He really hit the nail on the head with that quote, didn't he, when you think about it? The more difficult the victory, the greater the happiness in winning. So this was a man who was driven. He was a goal machine. He just wanted to win. He had a single, he obviously worked very, very hard at his craft, but he was absolutely sensational as well. He was gifted with some unbelievable flair as a footballer. But he really worked hard for his craft, and he obviously trained hard, and he seen the value of training hard. This is a guy who came from nothing, absolutely nothing, to be the greatest icon in football. And just think about that. And that only happens through drive, ambition, commitment, all these things that we talk about. Training hard, being focused, having a goal, working towards that goal, and stuff like that. And just, absolutely sensational from the man. We can't say enough about the man. We could be here all night. There's no doubt about it. I mean, so many records, so many honors, so many, gifted with so many honors, and such a, even in that humanitarian area and stuff like that. And I'm sure Brazil tonight or tomorrow is going to be, whenever his funeral is going to be, they're very saddened now, I'm sure. They're mourning on the streets of Brazil at the moment and around the world, in the football world. But they will celebrate this man's life in the only way you can do it. And Brazil know how to throw a party when they're celebrating their people. And this man's life will be an absolute a celebration of his life over the next week in Brazil, whenever the man is laid to rest. He's reunited with Maradona. Heaven FC have the best front two now. They've won the transfer window. Doesn't matter who anyone else signs. They have won the transfer window now. There's no doubt about it. May he rest in peace. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, and we'll leave you with that. R.I.P. Pele, 1940 to 1922, 82 years of age. Rest in peace. Till next time, folks, pleasure. Everyone in the chat, like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. We will be back over the weekend talking about the results, and we'll be back Monday as always with the Monday mashup, where we will be previewing the games coming up next week. Until next time, folks, a pleasure as always.